Hello, everyone, and welcome to Orford Mining's live summit today, hosted by Six. I'm very pleased to introduce our speaker, David Christie, President and CEO of Orford Mining. David is going to walk us through a company presentation, and after we will be accepting questions live. So as a reminder, you can submit your questions at any time on the Q&A panel on the right-hand side of the screen, and we'll try to get to them after the presentation is over. And as always, this event is being recorded and will be available to watch afterwards on Six.com. But without any further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you, David, to kick us off.
Thanks, Dasha. Thank you to Six. And we'll go right through the presentation here and welcome your questions at the end. Going to make some forward-looking statements, so please read these at your leisure. So when you look at Orford Mining, there's three key project areas I want you to remember as we walk through this presentation. First of all, we have over 1,400 square kilometers of prospective land in 6 properties in Quebec, a budget this year of over $9 million and about 7,500 meters of drilling. So it's a big year for Orford, our biggest year in our 4-year history. 3 key project areas: the Qiqavik Gold Project, very large project, 390 square kilometers. It's a brand new gold district in northern Quebec, in the Qiqavik region, 100% owned by Orford, $3.5 million budget this year, going to drill about 3,000 meters of drilling. It's a high-grade trend across the entire project, and we'll talk about that. We have the Chatel gold copper area, 260 square kilometers of land, over 100% owned for the most part, and we have the option to own 100% on one of the projects. About a $0.6 million budget this year. It's our first year of drilling on the Chatel-Eagle Project. We're just wrapping up a drilling program there right now, and we'll go through that information. And then the last but not least is the West Raglan Nickel Copper PGM project. This is the foundation. This company started as a private company a number of years back, and the West Raglan project was the project it had in its portfolio then. Nickel is doing quite well right now. Last January, we entered an earn-in agreement with a group called Wyloo Metals. This is the same group that just bought out Noront in Ontario for the Ring of Fire deposits. $5 million budget they've just approved this year. This is their second year of spending on the project. They spent about $1.9 million last year. We're going to drill about 3,000 meters of diamond drilling, targeting high-grade nickel copper PGM sulfides, which we've already discovered on the project, and we believe we'll discover more. So we'll walk through those 3 projects through this presentation. Just to give you an idea where we sit in the world, up in the northern part of Quebec, you can see the dots up there. We're right next to the Raglan nickel mine, which is a world-class nickel asset that produces a lot of nickel at very low cash costs. Probably one of the lowest cash cost nickel producers in the world. I would think that today they're probably producing at negative cash costs. Glencore operates that mine. Both our Qiqavik and our West Raglan project are right beside that to the west. And then down in the southern part of Quebec is the Chatel-Eagle, McClure East, Chatel South, and Chatel-Omega projects, which are 100%, or in the case of Chatel-Eagle, we have the option to earn 100% of the project. We did a deal in November for that project. So we're very excited about all these projects. We also own a couple of royalties down in Colombia. We got those by way of buying a private company in 2018 for the cash it had on hand. So just quickly on our capital structure, 149 million shares outstanding, sitting around a $21 million market cap as we speak. We did a private placement in January of $4.4 million, and that followed on one we had done in September for $1.9 million. So we're fully financed for the year. And the $5 million that we're spending on the Wyloo project, of course, part of that is a management fee that we collect on 10% of the expenditures on that project as we operate. I also like to point out Alamos Gold owns 23% of us, so they're a strategic shareholder, and they are supportive in all our private placements we've done to date, and we expect that they will continue to be that way. Of course, I believe we're very undervalued currently for the projects we have and where we are. This is our board management team. Just quickly on myself, I'm a geologist, spent over 35 years in the industry. First, I was a geologist with a group called Qiqavik for many years, and then followed that up. I was an equity analyst with both TD and Scotia, and then I worked with the Dundee Group, helping to manage money. While I was there, I was actually CEO of a company called Eagle Hill Exploration, which is the foundation company for Osisko Mining. We did help do a 4-way merger to create today's Osisko Mining. Was the asset that's in Eagle Hill, the windfall asset that is the asset in Osisko Mining. And I've been on a number of boards. Cindy Davis is our CFO. Alger St. Jean and Michelle Ciarantino are our two geological people. Both have a tremendous amount of experience, both in the nickel world and the gold world. Peter McPhail has joined us as our chairman. He is the COO of Alamos Gold. Lawrence Smith is an ex-money manager, as is Mark Goodman from Dundee. John McCluskey is the CEO of Alamos Gold. He joined our board last year, as did Monique Rabideau, a well-known Bay Street lawyer. So just looking at where we sit in the Abitibi, this is where the Chatel projects are here, where I just circled. This area is a prolific gold area. The Casa Berardi break with the Casa Berardi mine to the west of us. The Eagle Tell mine, which is where Qiqavik actually got its gold mining start, sits right to the east of our Chatel-Eagle project and to the west of our McClure east project. So it's a very prolific area with lots going on. You can see this is a little closer view of that same area. So the Eagle Tell mine, which sits just to the east of our Globex option agreement projects, which is where the Chatel-Eagle project is. We're sitting just to the south of the Maple Gold JV with Qiqavik, where Agnico is spending up to $18 million. And we have a number of other projects there. You see the Chatel-Eagle, Chatel South, and McClure East. So we believe this is a great area to be in. It's very underexplored. Basically, nothing had really happened in this area since Qiqavik closed its gold mine in 1993. So we started looking at it in 2020 and staked a couple of properties, staked some more at the end of 2020. And then this past year, we picked up the Globex property in an option agreement. So this is the Globex property. This is where we're concentrating our efforts right now as we speak, and principally on the South Gold Zone, which is right in the center part of the property here. This is an area where there's been some drilling in the past, actually about 20,000 meters of drilling across the entire project, which we've done a digital compilation of. That was the first thing we did. No one had ever done that on this project. So we did that work. There was a recent airborne survey flowing. We've taken that work and combined it all together and done our drilling on the project. We really believe there's some upside potential at the South Gold Zone that has not been evaluated. This is the South Gold Zone drilling. You can see some of the grades there: 5.6 grams, 6.5 grams, 5.3. So some good grades in there. When we look at that on a long section basis, you can see we've drilled 3 holes so far. Those pink sort of larger dots there are the 3 holes we've just we're working on. The third hole's in progress. The first and second holes are done. And these are to follow up on the drilling that was done in the early 80s. So you can see hole number 1 there hit 2.7 meters of 6.5 grams, and hole 2 hit 5.3 meters or 5.3 grams of 2.6 meters. So some pretty good grades and big intersection widths or distances between these holes. We're talking 200 meters between holes, 100 meters between holes. So lots of room there to fill in. And then if you look at some of the old holes where they're sort of gray colored, these are holes that the assays were redacted in these filed assessment logs. They were put into the government files. So we don't really know what the assays were in these holes. So we're quite excited to see what happens there. So in the first 2 holes that we've drilled there so far, mineralization looked really good. We actually got some numbers with our portable X-ray fluorescence gun, suggesting that the sulfides are gold bearing. However, the XRF readings are considered not representative, so we'll wait to see the actual assays. So we should have those soon. So we're quite excited what we're seeing here. We think there's lots of room at depth and on strike here to expand this zone and find something that we can put a resource to in the near future. Moving north, this is the Qiqavik and West Raglan properties. You see here, Qiqavik sitting just to the north of West Raglan. The green rocks here, this is a geology map, so the dark green and light green rocks, these are rocks that you tend to find the nickel in. You can see the Raglan nickel mine over here to the west, and the Nunavik nickel mine also just to the south of that, sitting in those same rocks. So the Raglan property sits down in there. The Qiqavik property sits just to the north of that, where no one had really done any gold exploration of any kind. This belt has principally been explored for base metals, for nickel and copper. So we went in there when we were looking at our nickel project and looked at a couple of showings where people had explored for gold or for nickel and found a bit of gold. And we liked what we saw so much, we ended up staking the 390 square kilometer piece of land. And we are the first people to explore this property. So it's really a new gold camp with only the work we've done so far as the work on the property. Why did we get excited about this project? This is that same 390 square kilometer piece of land here. You can see high grade from end to end. These are all just surface grab samples. And so we're exploring this project for the first time. We've only been on the ground for about 29 weeks so far, so not a lot of time on the ground because we're so far north. The field season is fairly short for when we need to see the rocks. But you can see some of the grades, from 648 grams at the highest point down to 13 grams, across the entire width of the project. So we're quite excited about the potential gold endowment on this project. So what did we do this past year? We did a lot of till sampling. All these black dots are till samples. We're still waiting on quite a few of those till sample results to come in. About 507 of the 712 till samples taken still have yet to be returned. And we flew some airborne magnetics as well as did some geological mapping. And we drilled about 2,000 meters of drilling. What did we want to do? The first thing we wanted to do was see if we could get a cutoff. In 2019, we'd done some till sampling, had some really high grade till numbers, like with lots of gold grain counts. You can see there the scale at the bottom, large till sample gold grain counts. And so the reds and oranges are really high numbers. We wanted to see if we could get a cutoff. And we expected this IP Lake shear zone, which is the hatched area in the middle of the map, right through here. It was going to be a gold bearing zone. So we were hoping to get a cutoff to those till samples just to the south of that. And we did. You can see the blues and greens just to the south of that. So not a lot of gold in those numbers. So that told us that the gold is coming from somewhere along that IP Lake shear zone. The issue is we have about 7 to 10 kilometers of IP Lake shear zone. So lots of it to explore. And the Anik boulder train, we continue to extend that. This is the Anik boulder train here. It's about 3.7 kilometers long. With grades up to 648 grams and 97 grams, 50 grams. So very high grade material, very quartz rich and sulfide rich, and we continue to look for that. So in the drilling we did this year is shown in the white call outs here. We got some gold in all the holes we drilled, but not the level of gold we want. So the gold is not in the shear zone itself. This is the same map zoomed in. We really believe the gold is in these north-south trending structures that are likely shallow dipping because we found some of those in some of the drilling. We had iron formation, lots of sulfides in the shear zone, but not really high-grade gold. So we're still looking for the source to this Anik trend. We believe it's the structures that cut up through here and that are just offset from the actual train of boulders. So that's what we're going to look at this coming year. We're going to drill 3,000 meters of drilling on both the Anik trend, the Erik trend, and this is just an example of what the Anik trend looks like. So very high grade sulfides with quartz. And you can see the angular blocks here. So we know that these boulders have not gone very far. They're very close to source. So it's just a matter of time before we find this high grade source to these boulders. So just going through that again, that's the Anik trend, 3.7 kilometers long, and the Erik trend about 2 kilometers long, and a number of other smaller trends along here. And we got that cutoff over 4.7 kilometers long along the IP Lake shear. So we know the gold is somewhere in that area. The other area we will follow up on this year with more drilling is the Interlake area. It sits just to the north of up in here, just to the north of the Anik trend. So we're going to drill some holes in there. We drilled some in 2019. We got some huge, thick intersections, 0.72 grams over 32 meters. If this is in the Abitibi, you'd make a mine out of that, a big open pit. In this area, we need a bit higher grade. We have some higher grade boulders in these red dots you see here around where the blue arrow is in here. And we've done some more till sampling all through in here in this area. We're waiting for those results. We expect it's going to show a target area down in here that we believe will be the target for the drilling this coming summer. And we'll drill some holes through the conductors and the shear zone that cuts through this lake. And hopefully we'll find the source to these boulders from that work, and higher grades than we hit in hole 4 and hole 5 here, but the same kind of thicknesses. So just moving further further to the south of the Qiqavik project to the West Raglan project. You can see we've got the reserves for the Raglan mine there, you know, so grading just shy of 2% nickel, sorry, 3% nickel, just shy of 1% copper, and 3 to 4 grams platinum palladium in this deposit. So very, very rich. That's why it's one of the lowest cash cost nickel producers in the world. Don't hear much about it because it sits in the Glencore pile of assets. But it's one of the great assets in the world as far as nickel. We're on the same trend. We sit right next door to it. We're only 90 kilometers to the west of the Raglan mine. We could connect to, if we found a deposit at West Raglan, we could connect to the road network that Raglan has and the Nunavik nickel mine have, and bring things up to their port facility, which is up here on the coast. So logistically wise, it's not as difficult as it might look. And so we've signed an earn agreement with the Waialua guys where they can earn up to 80%. We retain 20. They have to complete a feasibility study, spend $25 million, and make us a cash payment. So the model here is there's two different models. First of all, there's the Raglan model, which is like pearls on a string, I would describe it as. So you get these really high-grade pods along a stretch of land, and you string together those pods to make the deposit. At Raglan, they have 190 individual sulfide lenses. And so they take all those lenses together to make their deposit. The nickel copper ratio is about 3 to 1, so very high nickel to copper ratio. And the Canadian Royalties Miquelon deposit, which is the Nunavik nickel mine, is much more sort of massive, and it's a 1 to 1 nickel to copper ratio. Still very economic, especially with nickel at $14 a pound right now. So just another look at it. This is the picture on the top is the Raglan deposit. All the red dots you see there with the different numbers, 5, 8, and 13, 14. Those are the Raglan deposits across the project. And you can see most of their deposits sit within a 25-kilometer radius of each other. And overall, their property is about 55 kilometers from one deposit to the furthest. When you look at our project, most of our discoveries to date are about 28 kilometers apart from each other. And we've discovered about 7 zones so far. We need to find more. And the project, our property is about 58 kilometers long. So it's quite similar as far as size possibilities and the ability to put the number of deposits in that we need. Just gives you an example. One of the zones we have drilled a lot of holes into is the Frontier Zone. Very similar style, sulfide lens style pods that you get at Raglan. And if you took Raglan ore and you put it next to the ore we have, or the mineralization we have at West Raglan, you wouldn't be able to tell the difference. They are exactly the same type of material. So this is the same area, just looking from an aerial view. And you can see the grades we have here. So 3.2% nickel, 1.3% copper, and 3 grams PGEs over 28 meters. These are spectacular nickel sulfide grades. This is something you can't find very often. And I think we've got something very special here. So this year, what did we do there to move into a $5 million program in 2022? So in 2021, we did almost a $2 million program. We did some grab sampling and found some new showings. Did a pile of frost boil samplings to help direct for future exploration. But the main thing we did was 67 line kilometers of an EM survey with a squid EM sensor. This was completed at Frontier, Red, Beverly, some of our big showings, as well as some new ones. And the reason we use this type of methodology is this is the same methodology they use at the Raglan mine to help increase their discovery rates by almost 60%. So it's a method we hadn't used on this project before, and we believe it's outlined a lot of responses for us, 435 EM responses from this, of which 72 are high priority. We're going to drill 10 to 15 of those high priority targets in the 2022 program. That's about 3,000 meters of drilling. We'll do downhole geophysics on all of those. And we're going to also do some prospecting and geochemical sampling throughout the summer. So big program for this summer, $5 million program, nickel sulfide targets. And the nickel sulfide targets we have look very similar to the ones we already know have nickel sulfides in them. So we really believe we have a very strong program for this summer for discovery. So this is the West Raglan property. The stars are where we have drill targets we're going to drill this year. So some of them are right next to the frontier zone that's already discovered. Some of them are new areas. So lots of interesting things going to happen here. So we're quite excited to get in here and drill these holes. We have a great working relationship with the First Nations in the areas we work. So just summing up the company very quickly, strong strategic shareholder support with Alamos Gold holding 23% and participating in our equity issues. Massive land position in what we think are two underexplored gold districts in Chatel and at the Qiqavik project. Potential discovery of multi-million ounce gold deposits at Qiqavik. Strong financial and technical partner at West Raglan with the Wyloo group in there. And they're a great group, very smart technically and financially. And a safe, proven mining jurisdiction of Quebec. It's a great place to work. So well-funded exploration programs on 4 projects in 2022 with over $9 million to be spent on exploration. That's a lot for a little $21 million company. So it's a huge year for us. Lots of exploration potential. And we have a lot of things going on as far as catalysts coming up, conferences and news flow coming in the next number of months. And that's it. Is there any questions?
Great. Yeah, thank you so much, David. Yeah, there have been a few questions coming in. But of course, if you do have a question, feel free to submit them now. A question for you is, out of all of your projects, which are you the most excited about right now?
Well, today I'm most excited about our Chatel-Eagle Project because we're wrapping up our drilling there. We're quite excited about what we've seen, and we're eager to see the assays. We've actually rushed a pile of samples. Assay labs have been notoriously slow this year, so we're trying to get some quicker turnaround. So we're very excited to see those results. I think the project that is going to show results very easily this summer will be the West Raglan project because we've already made discoveries there. We have a model on that project that works quite well. So we're very excited to get back in there with a drill. We haven't been drilling on that project in a long time. And with nickel at almost $15 a pound, it's very topical for a nickel copper PGM project like that.
Great, thank you. Yeah, there's a question here from Brittany. Is nickel volatility going to continue into the summer? And is the London Metal Exchange going to sort itself out anytime soon?
That's a very good question. I think the volatility will continue for quite a while for 2 reasons. The demand is huge. The traders involved in the nickel industry are all trying to jockey for position. But also with the whole Russian situation, there's a lot of nickel that's not going to be coming on the market. So that's going to impact the nickel market as well. So I think all those things combined are going to keep nickel very, very volatile.
Great, thank you. How is it working with Wyloo at West Raglan?
Wyloo has been a great partner. They are technically very smart. Financially, they have very deep pockets. They're just a great group. They're very respectful and have great ideas, and they're a great group to work with.
Great, thank you. Eric actually has a question about that. He says, very good presentation, David. Can you confirm 10% management fees with Wyloo Metals? Does that potentially equate to 0.5 million in fees in 2022?
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, we'll make about $500,000 from managing the West Raglan project this year. Okay,
great. I'm going to try to read this next question, but you probably will be able to do a better job. Was Qiqavik project worked by Corvus Gold as the Gerfo project back in 2012?
Yeah, the very eastern end of Qiqavik, a small part of the project, was part of Corvus.
Yep, Qiqavik. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I think they did a soil survey or something like that. They didn't do much more than that, but yeah, that was that project.
Okay, thank you. And his last question, how many new areas have been defined by the EM geophysics survey on West Raglan?
Well, like I mentioned, there was 435 conductors identified. We modeled the methodology we used is very good at differentiating between formational conductors like graphite and just sediments and whatnot from nickel sulfide conductors. So we modeled 72 of those to be potential nickel sulfide conductors. So there's 72 conductors there that potentially could be drilled for nickel sulfides out of the 435 that were identified.
Thank you. And what has been your biggest challenge for your exploration programs over the past year, and how are you mitigating the situation?
Well, I think the biggest problems have been assay turnaround and making sure you have drills. And in more recent days, it's fuel costs and exploration inflation. We all know about inflation at the grocery store, but it hits the exploration and mining industry as well. So we're mitigating some of those things by making sure we have drills and keeping those drills for as long as we can. On the assay side, we're starting a method to rush more samples. It costs you a little more, but at least you get results a little faster. And on the fuel side, we bought quite a lot of fuel in September. We shipped it up on the last barge to the Qiqavik West Raglan project. So that helps mitigate the inflation we've seen since then, because there's been a lot of fuel inflation since September and a lot since this time last year. So, we're trying to mitigate those kind of things in those ways.
Great. Will you continue to add new properties to your company portfolio, or is your plate full for now?
Well, I think in exploration, you always have to be looking for the next project, because exploration is a system of like we get so far on a project and it doesn't turn out to do what you want it to do, so you have to have something ready to go to fill that void. So we're always looking at new things. Right now, we think all our projects have some pretty good potential, but we're always looking for something new to add to the portfolio.
Great, thank you. A question here: what is Quebec doing to support mining in the province right now and in the future?
So Quebec is a province that is very supportive of mining, probably more supportive than any other province, both from a financial perspective. They have a number of funds that our Quebec government supported that invest in the mining industry, from SIDEX to funds to Investment Quebec. There's a number of groups that actually invest in mining, and their flow-through system is a little better than the rest of the country. So I think that they like mining. They know what it does for their economy in Quebec, and it makes for a good place to work.
Great. Also, we'll plug that you'll be speaking on a Quebec mining panel next week, I believe. So if you want more detail on mining in Quebec, definitely attend that. Another question here from Eric: any royalties tied to the projects?
Yes, the West Raglan project has a royalty tie that is payable to Anglo American. However, we can buy a portion of that back. There is a small royalty on the eastern portion of the Qiqavik project that we got from Tectonic Resources, and again, we can buy that out. And in Chatel, 3 of the projects have no royalties because we staked them, there's a royalty, of course, on the Globex property to Globex, which we can buy a portion of it as well.
All right, thank you. And how are you feeling about the direction of the commodity prices in general? As you are an ex-analyst, where do you see them going?
Well, I'm quite optimistic for gold right now. I think the uncertainty in the world with the war in the Ukraine, as well as the inflationary pressures that we see. I know the Fed and the banks around the central banks around the world are going to increase interest rates, but I think there's going to be a point where they can't really increase them much further, and inflation is going to continue to run because the economies are strong in places, but not strong in other ways. So I think we're going to see those continued inflation pressures no matter what happens. So gold will do very well in that kind of situation, as well as the global uncertainty. We still have COVID going on. We've got a war going on. So those situations are very good for gold. And for nickel, I think with the electric vehicle batteries in a big demand and likely increasing in demand as we see, Europe cut gas usage out of Russia. And a lot of countries in the world have actually set dates for when they want to see no more combustion engines being sold. So I think you're going to see an increased need for nickel in electric vehicle batteries, as well as cobalt. You know, our West Raglan project has cobalt and nickel and platinum, palladium. So I think all those things are going to push, copper and nickel prices higher.
Great. Well, David, thank you so much. That is all the questions we have for today. I just want to thank you. Oh, actually, we just got one in. Let me see what that is. Oh, just says good answers. Much appreciated. I want to thank everyone for joining today and submitting great questions. If you do think of another question following the summit, feel free to contact the Orford mining team directly. There's a contact information on the slide here. You can also find more information on their website, orfordmining.com. And thank you, David, for taking us through the presentation and the live Q&A. I'm going to pass back to you if you have any final words before we close out.
No, I think thank everyone for attending, and have a look at Orford. We're a different kind of company as far as we are a gold exploration company with what I'd like to describe as probably the best nickel optionality you can find out there, likely better than a lot of nickel companies. So have a look at us, and if you have any questions, please do give me a call.